President Obama also held a campaign-style town hall meeting, surprising not just for the blunt talk in which the president said that the U.S. had been arrogant in the past and that Europeans had been too eager to engage in anti-Americanism, but also for the candor that he shared with thousands of young people. Listen.
I've come to Europe this week to renew our partnership, one in which America listens and learns from our friends and allies, but where our friends and allies bear their share of the burden. And as we restore our common prosperity, we must stand up for our common security. The United States of America did not choose to fight a war in Afghanistan. We were attacked by an al-Qaeda network that killed thousands on American soil, including French and Germans. Along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan, those terrorists are still plotting today. And if there is another al-Qaeda attack, it is just as likely, if not more, that it will be here in Europe.
I just want to know, well, what do you expect from the French and the European countries regarding the war on terror?
After the initial NATO engagement in Afghanistan, we got sidetracked by Iraq. And we have not fully recovered that initial insight that we have a mutual interest in ensuring that organizations like al-Qaeda cannot operate. And I think that it is important for Europe to understand that even though I'm now president and George Bush is no longer president, al-Qaeda is still a threat. And that we cannot pretend somehow that because Barack Hussein Obama got elected as president, suddenly everything's going to be okay.
And first of all, I wanted to tell you that your name in Hungarian means peach. If you knew.
Peach?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, how about that? I did not know that.
Yeah. Now you know it. And we wanted to know if you did you ever regret to have run for presidency till now?
You know, there have been times, certainly during the campaign, and there have been times over the last several months where you feel a lot of weight on your shoulders. You also lose privacy and autonomy, or anonymity. But having said all that, I truly believe that there's nothing more noble than public service.
In that town hall meeting, President Obama said he would seek a world without nuclear weapons. But again and again, the emphasis was summed up by his saying America is changing, but it cannot be America alone that changes. Senior political analyst David Gergen joins us now. David, it's an interesting line President Obama is trying to straddle. On the one hand, he's basically saying, yes, I'm here, and there are going to be changes in America. But on the other hand, he's saying not everything is going to be different from the Bush administration, and you have to change. Europe, you have to change as well.
Yeah, all along in this trip, Anderson, the changes have been in tone, not more than in substance. I think tonally he's done very well in this trip. He obviously has a good ear for the European audience. He has sent a message of conciliation and reconciliation between America and Europe. But substantively, he's achieved less than he hoped or that the American side would have wanted, say at the G20 meeting. He didn't get the stimulus package. He's on the NATO meeting tomorrow. He's not going to get more troops from France and probably not from many from other countries as well, as he had once hoped. But tonally and politically, it's been a really good trip for him, and I think that by going and presenting himself to that audience today in the same way he presented himself to so many campaign audiences before the election, that was obviously that tough love kind of message was a winner in the United States in the elections, and I think it's going to go down well in Europe.
It's interesting, though, because clearly a lot of these world leaders want to be seen with him. Nicolas Sarkozy today was, touching his back, and they were clearly very affectionate with one another. And yet, as you said, when behind closed doors, they're not going to give more troops to Afghanistan. They may give some more police instructors, but only in areas that have been pacified, not boots on the ground in the really, death zone.
Well, I think that's his problem, isn't it, as leader? And, leadership is about more than making nice, handshakes and a lot of smiles. It's actually about changing what people do and your constituents or your followers. And he's had a hard time so far doing that. But for a first trip, this has been a big plus for him, and it's his international debut. You've been there, you've seen it. You've seen how positive the responses have been from the crowds, from the press. He's won enormous plaudits partly for not being George Bush and representing the departure, but partly because he has this winsome personality. But I think still for him, with these unemployment numbers that have come out today, with Ali Velshi, will be talking about a little later in the show. He's got tough problems still to solve. He's got to persuade people to do things that they haven't yet been willing to do. And he has not, I think, yet, Anderson, demonstrated that a toughness that if you oppose me, I'm going to force you to do that. He hasn't really done that in this trip, and nor has he done it very often with the Congress.
I was also interested to hear him say in that clip his full name, Barack Hussein Obama. It's not something we heard much during the campaign. But it's something he is very comfortable saying, and now as president, and especially to this crowd. I mean, it's something he uses in moments.
Yes, exactly. He's very, he's very deft about this. As again goes back to his ear. But my sense, Anderson, is that this trip will also be a big confidence booster for him as a president. That he's now people have had the chance to take his measure internationally, and he's been well received. It's been in all sorts of ways, even though there wasn't much substantive progress. That's the kind of thing that bolsters a president's inner confidence to go back home now with a bit of a halo from the trip, but also just a different sense of who you are. Yes, I can play in the big leagues. I can hit big league pitching, and that's a big plus internally for a president.